Hi. So I was invited to the hashtag TeamSeas project. Thank you. And I want to check and say a few words about it and just look at some criterias. If if yes, why this is a good project, this is a good idea, this is exactly the problem that we need to tackle. Because it could be as well that this is a project that sounds really nice, but really doesn't solve a big problem. So without further ado, let's check it out. First off, just let's have a quick recap on the facts this far so that we start from the same foundation. First, and you can read quicker than I can explain it, this is the life cycle, the pathway in which plastics enters the oceans. So we have these 27 million tons per year that gets produced. And as you see here, a lot, way too many tons get into the oceans, get washed down to microplastics, etc., blah, blah, blah. And in the end, we all have this in our very bodies. And as you can see here, this is not a problem that is slowing down at any point in any speed. Quite the contrary, actually, it's a classical exponential problem. So exponential technologies started by the industrial revolutions just tend to speed up with time, and plastics is no exception of it. Here we can see that out of all that what is produced, only very, very little is actually recycled in the end. Yeah, what can I say? What it is. Here we can see that the primary producers, the primary sources of this in the end problem, in the middle part, it's very, very helpful, no doubt about this, but in the end, it's a very big problem. As you can see here, the biggest producers are packaging, building and construction, and textiles. So if we want to start at the source, we would be very, very advised to start with these three. But this project is not about primarily stopping the starting points, the impact, but it is about to stop. It is about stopping the like everything that comes behind it, basically. So all the trash, etc., etc. And as we can see here, and as you will have at this point, a short known from at least, I don't know, 300 to 300 sources, just a very few rivers in Asia are the primary sources of plastic trash into the oceans. That is actually why this project makes sense in the first place. So with all this first introduction said and done, how can we evaluate this? There are some very, very good questions to see if this is a problem worth tackling. I just give you the, in my opinion, best 3+1. First, scale. What is the magnitude of this problem? So the quick answer is it hits nearly everyone. As previously said, I hear it, or I read at some article that every one of us gets the equivalent of a Visa card, of a plastic card's worth of plastic, just in our system through our lifetime or 10 years or whatever. So it hits nearly everyone. It is quite bad right now as it is, and it's getting worse exponentially, as seen in the in one of the graphics before. Plus, we don't even know a lot that goes wrong. So we know it's bad, but we don't even know the whole scope of the problem, actually. I put in some links for deeper research for you, but long story short, it is not a good thing. And we don't even know how bad it actually is. So check for the first box, scale. This is actually a problem with a big magnitude and a big impact. So point 2, the neglectedness. How many resources are already being dedicated to tackling this problem? And the other questions to specify this. Well, on part, this is solvable very easily. Like you can, as said before, stop the insertion of like around 70 to 90%, it depends who you ask, of the plastic trash through the rivers in Asia into the oceans, which is actually exactly what we're talking about with the project TeamSeas, so great. But the most part, like the biggest part of this problem actually needs way more, like politically more, like on industrial scale, like production times, like when it comes to production, etc. The whole problem is way deeper, way bigger. Again, if you want to read more about this, I put in some links, and you will find the link to this very presentation as well in the description of the video. So you can watch it, you can research it on your own. But at least on part, we have a big check on the second question as well. So number 3, the detectability. How easy is it to make progress on this problem, and how easy it is to tell if you're making actually progress? Like, can you measure it in some sense actually? Well, and again, for the rivers, as discussed before in point 2, for the rivers, it is actually very easy, like to stop the flow of more plastic trash into the oceans. This is like a relatively easy problem to tackle. For everything else, well, it is way harder. Like, again, you need politically stuff, you need technical solutions, blah blah. It's a really long tail in the end. But you can argue that this project and success in this project can maybe even start some progress on these areas as well, or kickstart it even. Like we have a little bit of progress on some parts, like for the political part, for example, like banning plastic straws, etc. But maybe this is the right tipping point actually to kickstart all of this. Maybe. I mean, even the option of this is is making it already worth it. So, and then if you want to make it more personal, not just the general questions, not just to answer the general questions, but to see if this is optimal for the personal fit, like who is solving this problem actually. So given the skills, resources, knowledge, connections, patience, blah, 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 etc. Is this actually a problem that will fit to the ones who want to solve it? So in this case, the project, the TeamSeas team. Well, YouTube has an enormous impact, and with the amount and with the like followership and the multiplication impacts of these like network nuts, if you want to, like you have Mr. Beast, for example, with, I don't know, 50 million or something viewers. Hi, Mr. Beast. It is actually an enormous impact. And this will get multiplied again when a lot of YouTubers go together, like we do this here. So I think this can work very well because they are a lot of like technically very fond people. They are on marketing very good, blah, blah, blah. So we have a lot of people with passion, with skills, with resources, with the combination, with the reach, which actually I would say makes it quite a good thing, to be honest. Like, it's not exactly maybe the right people that working on it. That would be like engineers and politicians, etc. But they are close to, in some kind, maybe even right fitting, right? It's depending on which perspective you're looking at it. Plus, again, with this impact of this big like video wave, actually, you can get probably a lot more like follow-up resources. You can gain, I don't know, a lot more engineers, more awareness on it, more discourse, more discussions politically and in the whole society, blah, 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 blah. So I would say check for this fourth box actually as well. So then we have some additional questions. I will just focus on one that stood out in the looking at this problem. Like, is the organization tackling this problem actually particularly effective? Well, it depends in the end. Like, who is checking it? Who is the controlling instance? Like, who makes sure that really all of the money goes to the intended funds in the end? But if we assume that everything will go as like the whole TeamSeas crew say it, then I think it is a very, very, very effective tackling crew in the end. You can see other examples of very effective charities in the link on givewell.org, which whole purpose is actually to evaluate and rate charities exactly for this, like on every spent dollar, how much actually ends on the problem, not spending on administration, etc., salaries, blah, but really to just tackle the problem. If you want to know more about it, more questions about it, more about the on the how I am assuming this, or how I'm evaluating this, I can really recommend you Doing Good Better by William McAskill. This is like one of the best books, in my opinion, to go on this, like have a educated worldview and the right questions to ask and the right sources to start for problems like this. So that said, actually, is this really a big problem that we should tackle? Like, is this one of the big hitters? Like, is this an existential risk, an existential problem? And the short answer is no. And as I don't want to make this video like, I don't know, 20 minutes or something or longer, short answer is no. The long answer you can find, for example, here in these two articles. Like, these are articles about existential risks, for example, a rogue AI, like an artificial intelligence that is generally smarter than all humans combined, which can go horribly wrong, something like this, or destabilizations through social media, I think, is on it, blah, blah, blah. There are a lot of things, and they are very, very good described. Long story short, you can find a very good list and what you can actually do to mitigate the really existential problems here. But long story short, the answer is no, actually plastic pollution is not an existential risk as far as we know. And you have even more resources here. Like the top three, as discussed a little bit yet in the last slide, are a climate disaster, like in general. Like if we have, I don't know, 50, 60 degrees something and no wind, then you will just die because you can't sweat properly. So a lot of people will probably die just because of this. Plus you have natural disasters like tornadoes, tsunamis, really big waves, heat waves, etc., etc. This is a really big problem that can probably kick humanity out of the out of the galactical box, if you want. So a nuclear war, all-time problem. It's not banned not more than 50, 60 years ago. So we have to really get this risk down as well, and the rogue AI, as discussed earlier. These are the top three based on Yuval Noah Harari. I linked the sources here as well, so you can inform yourself more on it. These are the top three that I follow as well. I think, okay, if we can kick these three risks, we will solve everything else, probably. If you want more about it, there's a very great TED Talk from Nick Bostrom on it. Source and link are as well on this slide. But the short answer is no, it is not an existential problem. So it is not one of the really big hitters, but it is, I would argue, slightly below it, probably. So, summary, is hashtag TeamSeas a good idea? Is this whole project worthwhile? Well, if you want to argue from the standing point of an effective altruist, which is basically the maximal positive impact per person, I think it is one of the easier as said, you have a few rivers to tackle. You have the technology is relatively affordable. You have the reach, blah blah blah. So everything seems kinda to check out. So kinda yes, I would say. Does it have the maximum impact on humanity? Well, it's a big maybe. It's definitely in the better problem to solve quadrant. I think there are a lot problems that are more urgent, but there are way more problems that are not that urgent and not that important. So it's kind of very good, I would say. How is the leverage used? Really good, as said before. So we have the multipliers, we have like videos, we have like the longevity, because these videos won't get deleted soon. You kind of, I mean, I hope that it works like intended. You kind of hijack whole YouTube for a few hours. The collective awareness will rise. So a lot of good things. So this is definitely a yes, I would say. And is there some additional usage actually? Like, again, I would say, like are there second and third order consequences? I would argue that yes, because it can kick in this self-reinforcing loop. Like, okay, now we have the attention, now we have all the resources spent on it, now we have first big successes on it. So this can lead to better cleanup technologies, to more people invested on it, blah, 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 which is in general very good. As said before, one of the big problems, after all, for our civilization right now is the whole climate collapse scenario. So I would say it is maybe not the best option, but definitely one of the better. That, yeah. And this is especially multiplied by the compound of people, the influencers, again, the reach, blah, blah, blah. So long story short, this is a cool thing from a philosophical standpoint, from a practical philosophical standpoint. As said before, all the sources are in this presentation. I will put it as well in the description, I think. Long story short, thank you for letting me participate in this. This is a really great start, actually. And it's a proof that the internet people don't solve problems just on the internet by talking about it, blah, blah, blah. But no, this is one of the better ways to solve a problem in the real world through the impact of digital media, which is very great on its own. So long story short, thank you. And this will be great. See you on the next time. Bye.